progress and preserve the settlement's history.
It is indeed very significant that we are today here to open what will probably be the first community museum. It is indeed a flagship project for the NCAC in that this is the first time we have worked with a community to exhibit their own cultural products. Indeed, it is very important because one of our basic responsibilities is to preserve our cultural heritage, be it material or non-material. So definitely it stands to support the NCAC's mandate. This museum is particularly very instructive because it is the outcome of the meeting of oral history with reality, because it has its origins in a legend that was spoken about from generation to generation about a well inside the tattoo at January. In this well, it is said during the Soninke Marabu Wars, when the community was under imminent attack, before fleeing from the forces of Fode Kaba, they decided to bury all their wares, all the things that were important to them in the well.
It was all about the Soninke Marabu Wars, with jihadists waging scourging invasions bent on converting the better part of a population who refused to shun their traditional beliefs. In the thick of a fierce battle with Dumbia's warriors, the villagers of Jenyer lost the war, but succeeded in saving their most treasured valuables by throwing them inside a well whose existence was preserved through oral narratives.
I mean, Fode Kaba was really one of the leaders, of the Islamic reform movement, jihadist, as he's called in some, literature. And he wanted to, convert the people of this settlement, Jenyer, who were Soninke, and they insisted, and in those days, every community had a fort, or like a tattoo, okay? I'm usually made from mud, and this was handy in times of crisis, when, the village or the settlement is under siege, people will run into the tattoo so as to be able to strategize militarily, and also so as to be able, to, withstand, the siege.
Ibrahim Hassan, the late Alcalo of the village, recounts his grandfather being among the people who battled with Fode Kaba. This is his story. For 12 months, Fode Kaba blocked access to the local hunting and fishing grounds, steering a year-long standoff situation with occasional clashes when people from neighboring villages smuggled food to the besieged community of Jenyer. And so for months, Fode Kaba camped on the south side of the village, later moving to the riverside in an attempt to starve out the people. In the meantime, several messages from Dumbia to Jenyer asking them to convert to Islam failed to bear any fruit. And after a host of attempts, the Marabu warrior went into a kalwa, or spiritual retreat, for a week. When he finally emerged, there was a heavy storm. It prompted the village elders to hold a meeting in the fortress, where they agreed to evacuate women and children that very night. The evacuees later escaped to neighboring settlements, and the following morning, a fierce battle ensued when Fode Kaba attacked the village. Oral history relates that all elders killed themselves to escape defeat and slavery, except one villager by the name Chambai Sane, who was killed after relaying this defiant message to the jihadist warrior.
And this story has been passed on from generation to generation, and when they approached the community approached the NCAC in around 1996, we sent in an archaeologist to work with them, and finally the location of the well was authoritatively identified.
This could be the works, evidence of the first archaeological project in the Gambia.
Yes, indeed, because it was after identifying the well and digging for 3 days that they started unearthing some of the objects you can today see in this museum. So it is very, very interesting.
Of note, Lamin Dabo, who formerly sliced the ribbon, opening what is perhaps the first community museum depicting the scourge of the Soninke Marabu Wars, underscored the essence of such a facility amid times when people are seeking to conserve the past for the benefit of future generations. Set amid 3 silk cotton trees competing for tallness, the community museum can be easily accessed from the main square or riverside behind the village. For a trimly sizable compound, it's incredible to realize how much of the settlement's past is represented here at the very site where archaeologists toiled to regain the ancient picture of Janyir. The museum has 3 structures, with the largest holding the bulk of relics and artifacts discovered in the old well. Here, visitors will encounter age-old objects in the form of jugs, vases, and farming utensils relaying the tale of times long gone. In the background, a small hut beside a cluster of twinning rocks symbolizes the fortress built to protect the village against attacking marabouts.
And thanks to this fort, they were in the fort. I'm sure that for the Kaba's guns and arrows and spears, will be out of reach.
They escaped conquest.
They were able to resist for 12 months. But after 12 months, because of the suffering, the elders decided to evacuate, the women and the children. This tells us that even in those days, our local people, they had a sense of humanitarian law. So even before the UN and all these Geneva Conventions, came into being, our local people, they had rules and regulations concerning war. So the Ganyeri people, they decided to evacuate the women and the children, to nearby villages. And then, they decided to, remove all the, belongings, of the inhabitants. Their arms, their food, their jewelry, their monies, their grains, and so on. And these were dumped into the well, and the well was sealed. The idea was, it's just about, what do you call, like Scotch art. Yeah, so that even if the enemy reaches in the village, he would not be able to find anything of use.
The art would be preserved from the Scotch.
Exactly. So this was also like another, like military tactic which the people of Guinea employed. They destroyed anything that could be of use for the Kaba and these jihadists. When they entered the village, and then when he entered, he found nothing except the smoldering, ruins of the village.
Now here we are,
and that is what is called, a Pyrrhic victory. A Pyrrhic victory, meaning, like a victory that is almost like a defeat, because you come in and you find nothing of use into you. The good thing was that the people of Yenyeri, working with the support of the National Center for Arts and Culture, we were able to have an archaeologist who came to work, with the villagers, to dig up the well. And when this was done some years ago, we were bewildered and surprised with the amount of material we found in the well: coins, jewelry, bottles, pottery, personal belongings, and so on and so forth. So this archaeological,